What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. The Sooners Illustrated Podcast, episode 203.
203.
On this Monday, August 25th, 2025. Josh Callaway, James D. Jackson, Tom Green with you. 5 days until kickoff.
Man,
game week, baby.
We have made it. The 2025 season is here. Oklahoma's going to play a real-life football game on Saturday in Norman. We're all going to be there. We cannot wait. And we're going to set the table today. Final season predictions. We're going to get our final thoughts off. How good is this Oklahoma team going to be this season? We're going to lock it in today. Final season predictions. We also got the depth chart. It dropped literally right as we were about to start recording. Actually got like 30 seconds in and said, hold on, scrap that. Let's start over. We're going to react to the depth chart. It just dropped. Some initial reactions there to the week one, slate of players. Who's getting those first snaps? As Brent Venables said, who's going to get on the field first on Saturday. We'll react to that a little bit as well as we set the stage for the 2025 season. As we do that, I want to make sure to remind you, as always, to subscribe, Oklahoma.247sports.com. Use the promo code SoonersPod60 for 60% off a VIP membership right now. It's literally week one. There's no better time. Jump in with us and be a part of the ride, the show, all season long over at Sooners Illustrated. Programming notes here as we get going. If you are new to us, you weren't with us last year, we've picked up a lot of new subscribers and viewers since then. The way that's going to kind of work, obviously, the three of us are going to be with you every Monday in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock or so. Starting next week, obviously, that'll be coming off the game week. The three of us will recap it all. We'll break it all down for you, pull it all apart, every angle of that Saturday's game. Thursday, Colin Kennedy jumps in with me to get all the recruiting stuff. Colin's obviously going out to multiple high school games every single week, and we'll get all the latest there. Also, especially before home games, those shows are extra worth your time because we can get into the visitor list for that upcoming game. That'll be the case certainly this Thursday. Then the three of us are back with you on Friday for the game preview show, where we'll set the table for the next Saturday's game. Players to watch. We'll pick the game, of course, as well. Just kind of the angles, the keys that we're going to be watching for on Saturdays. And then on Saturday, obviously, wall-to-wall coverage over at Oklahoma.247sports.com. And then post-game here on the YouTube channel. This is your place on YouTube to hear from Brent Venables, from Ben Arbuckle, from John Mateer. Of course, the instant reaction show, which we'll do on the field right after post-game, after every single game. That'll be me and James some of the time, me and Tom some of the time. I'm sure Colin will hop in once or twice if he can get up to some games during the season as well. That'll be our kind of unfiltered instant reaction to the games right afterward on Saturday. So that's kind of the schedule. It's going to be hectic. We're with you a lot during the season, multiple days a week, every single week, and hopefully people are with us every step of the way. It's going to be a really, really fun season. But gentlemen, we're there. The season is here. There was games this weekend, week 0. The Dublin game was ridiculous. Iowa State and Kansas State. It just feels good, though. We finally have made it. Fall camp is completely over. It's the first game week. Year 3 of Sooners Illustrated. Here we go. I mean, what can you say? I'm fired up.
Yeah, I mean, it's here. But let's get this going. Nice little appetizer this past weekend to just, get the blood flowing. And then, we knew that the depth chart would be released, probably sometime today. You kind of called it that it would probably happen as soon as we started recording. And sure enough, it did. And now it feels real.
This is going to be an exciting year, just based on what we've seen that Oklahoma added. Just based off their 6-7 record last year and everything they did to try to fix that, adding all the personnel in the development department, all the different players, the transfers. It's going to be a fun year because you got to see how these guys are going to, perform. What's going to happen here? So it's great. It's time. Let's do it.
It's very exciting. Obviously, a huge offseason. It's a huge year for the program, for Brent Venables. Everyone knows that, and we're excited to get it rolling. Finally this week, like you guys said, they've put themselves in position to have a good season, but can they go do it? That'll be the question. And we're going to kind of dive into all the angles of it here today, and we're going to lock it in at the end of the show, our final predictions, how we actually feel this is we're going to put it into the ether, what we think this Oklahoma team is actually going to accomplish this season. Before we kind of get into that, depth chart just dropped, like Tom said. We started recording the show, got 20 seconds in, like we didn't even do anything, and there it popped. And so we stopped. We're like, all right, scrap that. And we reacted to it. Tom's got the story over on the website where you can get a full kind of look at everything. For you guys, what jumps out? A reminder to everyone, we all freak out about the week 1 depth chart. It's exactly that. It's a week 1 depth chart. It's just for this Saturday's game. It doesn't mean that this is going to be the case all season. Far from it. It's just for this Saturday. Here's what we're working with. Where do your eyes go first when this thing pops? And what is the big takeaway, if there is one, for you guys?
Yeah, I think the 2 most notable things probably is you look at running back, and Jaden Ott's listed 3rd. Which I know a lot of people are going to be surprised by that, but don't overreact. Like you look at, like he dealt with a little bit of a shoulder injury during fall camp. They held him back. They're going to be cautious with him. Javonte Barnes and Torrey Blaylock were the only guys that were healthy throughout the fall, fully healthy. So those guys are RB1 and RB2 heading into week 1. They're going to get their opportunities. I still fully expect Jaden Ott to ultimately be the featured guy in that running back room, but it makes sense to hold him back and, just err on the side of caution heading into week 1 and, preserve him for that Michigan game. And then the offensive line. There's only one solidified starter there right now.
Basically didn't make a decision. Yeah.
The guy who started all 13 games at right guard last year, led the offensive line in snaps. He is the only solidified starter there. Every other spot is an or. I think that speaks to just the overall improved depth of this unit. Like we heard from Bill Bedenbaugh a couple weeks ago, he feels a lot better about the state of this room going into this season than where they were last year, especially those injuries they had to incur. We know that he's going to move guys around. He's going to toy around with the lineups. I'm interested to see what those combinations kind of look like this weekend. Like, to me, like even that left tackle spot where you have Michael Fasusi listed first or Jacob Sexton, and then Logan Howland there too. It's like, I would not be surprised to see Michael Fasusi be the first guy out there this weekend. Give him that chance off the bat against an FCS opponent. Like, let him get his feet wet and see what he can do there. But look, a lot of those guys are going to play. They're going to move them around before they eventually settle on 5 guys that they really trust, maybe 6 or 7 to rotate in there too. But I think it just speaks to the overall improved depth of that room, and we'll see what the ceiling is for that unit. Because again, like we've discussed, like, we're optimistic that, the quarterback, the running backs, the wide receivers are all better this year than where they were last year. But the true test of this team is going to be, how good can this offensive line be? Because they're either going to raise the ceiling for this team or they're going to lower the floor.
Yeah, and you said it too. But hey, shout out to Jaron Cannick for winning that tight end spot and pretty much just switching from linebacker last year, and now he's the starting tight end for the Oklahoma Sooners. So that's going to be a pretty good story if he can, somehow be a good, option there. Catch the ball and block well and see what happens there. That's another one of the things that caught my attention.
Sure.
Also, Cortland Guillory for the cornerbacks room. He's a freshman that's been talking a lot about wanting to play early, wanting to be like what Eli Bowen was for Oklahoma last year, and he looks like he's going to get that opportunity in this game 1. I mean, he's the starter with Jacoby Johnson there.
Sure.
So it's obviously he's going to get some playing time. So that's good for him, good for his development. It shows that he's learned a lot from the spring until now and what he's done and just impressed Jay Valai. So that's a good sign for him. Like you guys said, the running back room, that's one of the things you always have to look at because of the injuries that we saw throughout camp. Torrey Blaylock, what an amazing story that's going to be for him to be actually get out there and play, because coming into the season, we're all like, there's probably no way he's going to get on the field with the depth of this running back room. And now he's the second option as of week 1. So that's good for him. He showed that he can perform well in camp, do the drills the correct way, understanding his assignments, his blocking schemes, things like that. He gets to be on the field as well. So that's awesome, man. You get to see a couple different things here, and that's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, I was going to say that the one other thing that was, I don't want to say it was so much surprising, but like something that's worth noting is, the guys who aren't listed on this depth chart heading into week 1. And that's, the notable ones are Eli Bowen, Kendall Dolby, Taylor Tatum. I think are the 3 most notable ones right there.
Yeah.
And obviously guys like
I guess
Devontae Gibson, who's, coming back off that injury. But it's like those guys have not really practiced that much, or they've been limited throughout the fall. Look, they're going to return at some point, but like it makes sense that they're not on their week 1, but still like returning pieces that, people expected big things have come into the season. Just not appearing on the week 1 depth chart is still kind of jarring when you look at it at first. But then you remember there's context to everything. Like Eli Bowen did not practice preseason. Kendall Dolby is coming off that gruesome injury last year, but also was dealing with I think it was the wrist injury.
I think it was wrist, yeah.
And then Taylor Tatum's been banged up with that hamstring issue since really the start of camp. So we'll see when they can get those guys back. But yeah, just wanted to kind of address the guys that aren't there.
Yeah, no, I'm putting very little to zero stock in Jaden Ott being running back 3 for this game. He missed most of camp. We talked about it. DeMarco Murray was taking handoffs. Javonte Barnes, Troy Blaylock were the only guys that were there. So it doesn't shock me. I think we even brought it up a couple shows ago. Javonte Barnes might be the starter to start the year on paper because he's the vet. He's been around. Troy Blaylock's mildly surprising, but again, not really because he's been out there consistently where, obviously Xavier Robinson missed a good, half-ish or so, and Taylor Tatum basically missed all of it, and same for Ott, missed the vast majority. So that part is not shocking to me. I agree, Jaren Kanak, a little mildly surprised he won tight end 1, and we talked about it. I mean, he's had a great camp. He can get out. He's made the most plays in the passing game, but could he handle the blocking duties? That's what I thought was going to maybe hold him back from being that top guy, but it didn't. Obviously, he wins the job. Burke, Satania, Keontae Lewis, pretty believable starting receivers there. No Orrs. Those are your 3 guys. Yeah. Burke's outside, Satania inside, which, Tom noted before we start recording is a good little note there. Basically didn't make decisions on offensive line. It's going to be kind of fluid. Tons of Orrs. Defensively, nothing shocking. A bunch of Orrs that I think are not too much to read into. But yeah, no, I mean, frankly, and I don't mean this in a trying to be pompous or something. I think this is kind of what we've been saying on the show and reporting at Sooners Illustrated. I mean, most of these are, if you've been kind of with it every step of the way, whether it's listening to the show or just kind of keeping up with our members at Sooners Illustrated, kind of just the ongoing conversations that we've been having, I don't think there's really anything that's just out of left field here, really on this entire thing. And people are going to freak out. Again, it's a week 1 depth chart. I wouldn't freak out too much about anything on here, but pretty believable, I think, everywhere. I don't think anything is really too shocking, honestly.
Yeah, I think one of the thing on defense that was maybe a little bit surprising was that Robert Spears-Jennings wasn't the top name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that.
Safety there,
it's odd.
It's him and Boganowski as co-starters, right?
Yeah. Boganowski's as the top line.
But it was still a little surprising because RSJ's just kind of been that steady presence there. It was second on the team in tackles last year. It was obviously one of their SEC Media Day representatives, one of the permanent team captains that they were voted on. So that was a little bit surprising. And the last thing I do want to note, and I know fans might want to cover their ears here or cover their eyes, but Jaden Ott listed as the primary kick returner.
I was going to say that.
I know they've winced every time we've mentioned it on the boards. Just because they still have some PTSD from DeMarco Murray. But look, he's talented at doing it. He showed what he's able to do there at Cal. And if he's healthy, I think he's a very valuable weapon that they can utilize on special teams.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think Troy Everett is one of the Orrs as well. As a center, I thought he was the one that was going to be solidified on the offensive line.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit.
You mentioned though, Jake Michael had been kind of pushing.
Yeah.
And never start. Yeah. Start,
I was going to say, the thing there is Troy is the unquestioned leader of the group, as Bill Beanbo and as all the other guys have said. But I think I think he's a quality college center, but I think he also has some physical limitations that a guy like Jake Michael doesn't have. Jake Michael is a longer player, which obviously helps when you're playing in the SEC against some of these bigger defensive linemen. But I think Troy's come a long way from where he was when he transferred in from App State, and has really taken it upon himself to not just develop as a player. And he's bigger than he was last year, and he's more comfortable than he was last year. But just settling into that leadership role and kind of being that voice to lead the offensive line.
Mm-hmm. And the good thing for that room is just all these guys are pretty much healthy on the offensive line. That was the most difficult part about it last year. Just they didn't know who was going to be out there. So having the options are good at this point.
Yeah. Now you don't know who's going to be out there first because of the options, whereas last year who's going to be out there first because of the lack of options.
Looks like Isaiah Satania is going to be returning punts,
which again, 2 years ago, he was like top 10 in the country in punt returns at Arkansas.
Yeah, he was always out there doing it when we were open practices and stuff. Felt like he was a pretty viable option there. Kind of thought maybe Danny Okoye would be a little higher in this thing. Wouldn't read again too much into that. He's third behind Marvin Jones and Taylor Wine on the left side. R. Mason and then PJ Adebawore, the 1-2 on the other side. Maybe a mild surprise, not much of one. But yeah, pretty believable overall here. And again, the story's over on Sooners Illustrated with kind of the full thing. You want to get a good look at it. Tom laid it all out over there, so you can kind of digest on your own. It's going to be fluid. There's a bunch of oars in this thing. It's all over the place. And so we'll see. I will also note, the injured guys are not on here, but Grayson Halton is on here. Does that mean he's going to play on Saturday? I don't know. But it is worth noting that it's not a definitely not, I guess. I
do think he was able to do more the last week and a half.
Yeah, so which is a good sign. Not that you need him against Illinois State necessarily, but you want him. He's an underrated key piece of this thing. So if he's in a good place to maybe play this weekend, that's a great sign. Moving forward for him in that D tackle room.
It just goes to say, I think you said it last week, Josh. Just missing 1 week of practice, it changes everything about how that room and how it's going to look. Because obviously Jaden Ott's good enough to play in this game, but he's going to start at kick return, but he's not going to start at running back, maybe because he missed all that time. So that's the way I've seen it. A lot of the names on here as well.
There's also a difference in like being on kick return. Like, let's be honest, there might be 2 kickoff return opportunities against Illinois State this week.
You'd hope one.
Being in the backfield and getting 15 carries,
Yeah,
right.
And they're probably going to kick it out of the end zone too.
We talk. I think early in camp, all the balls with Caden Helms, he hurts his hand. He's not even on this thing. That can set you back quite a bit. But there you go. So everyone got a chance to kind of get mad about that. Oklahoma had all this goodwill when they got rid of the weekly captains. They went to season captains. Everyone was fired up, and then the depth chart drops, and everyone's mad again, which is great. We're back. We're totally back.
But are they going to actually? Are they? Is it just season captains? Or are they actually?
I think so. I think they ditched it.
Because that's why I assumed when I read it. It said season captains, but also I'm hearing like maybe they still have like weekly guys here and there.
We'll probably find out tonight because they would usually release that when we were out there. Like,
that'd be pulling the rug out if they announced the weekly captains today. I will say 7 captains is a lot. At least for like when you think of like the coin toss, you're not gonna have 7 guys out there.
Yeah,
that's too many.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
But you would assume it's just those guys, and then like they would just rotate here and there.
Yeah, I like. I don't think it's that big a deal. Obviously, the fans have hated the weekly captains. I do think it's dumb. I mean, I agree on that. But yeah, I do think there's kind of something to like the same guys lead us out. They're the captains, which I think they have had season captains.
Yeah, but they're usually like
publicized it
later. Yeah.
Right.
They've always had like a leadership council that's kind of like effectively been the guys that end up being the captains, but for the sake of like, noting it down in the record books and everything, it's like these are the guys that were the captains this year.
Yeah,
no doubt. So depth chart out. We got a chance to peruse it and discuss it a little bit there and react to it. Let's kind of lock in what we think this team's going to actually be. Let's start offensively. That's the question. Okay, huge offseason offensively. You changed everything. It was a nightmare last year. Well discussed. Don't need to rehash any of that. We've talked about it at length for the past year, basically. An abomination, as Brent Venables put himself last year. New quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new running back, tons of new receivers, offensive line much healthier, the new starting tight end. How good can this offense actually be is my question, because obviously it's going to be better, right? It has to be. There's no way it's not.
Yeah.
But how good can it actually be? What are your expectations? You've had all fall camp. You've had the summer. You got to see these guys. You look at the depth chart. What is your actual realistic expectations for what John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, and this offense can actually be this season? Where are you at right now mentally as we get ready to actually kick this thing off? Because again, it's going to be better, but is it going to be just serviceable or could it legitimately be great? That's my question.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit hard to gauge just because like Ben Arbuckle doesn't have like a very long track record as a play caller. He's done this 3 other years. So I look back, 2 years ago, his first year at Washington State calling plays when he had Cam Ward, obviously a very good quarterback there. How did they fare? And they finished the season 38th nationally in scoring. I feel like the floor for this offense is like a top 30 scoring offense if they can stay healthy. And I think that's the floor just because this is the most talent that Ben Arbuckle's had to work with, like top to bottom. Quarterback, wide receivers. Jaden Knott is certainly the most talented running back he's had. The depth on that offensive line is really solid right now. So I think the floor for this offense, assuming health, again, like if they have the same issues as last year where 6 wide receivers get hurt and the offensive line just falls like flies, like all bets are off. But I think the floor for this offense can be a top 30 scoring unit. And if they really get rolling, like if John Mateer is really like the guy that they fully believe that he's capable of being, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a top 15, top 10 unit at the end of the year, just in terms of scoring.
Sure.
And it's difficult because they're playing tougher defenses than, Washington State was facing in the Pac-12 and against those Mountain West teams.
Yeah.
So again, like best case scenario, top 10, top 15. I think realistically in the 30 range is where this team probably could end this season if they stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. And it's always like people point out the competition that John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle were facing, but you also have to note that their players got better too. Like you would assume that level of play is up on the offensive side as well. So I think you mentioned it in our roundtable article that's going to come out here pretty soon. I had OU, being a top 25 offense this season because of what they did at Washington State. And, these two guys coming over and implementing this offense for Oklahoma. So I think it's going to be a good thing. And Brent Venables has said this offense looks more like it did in 2023. When OU's offense was very, very good. He's not going to just say that's not coach speak. When they start comparing, different groups with different things, I think they truly believe that when they say that. So that's where I think this offense is going to be. I think it's going to be really good. A lot more explosive plays, which is what Oklahoma lacked throughout the entirety of the season last year. I think that's going to change a lot. Some excitement on that side of the ball. So it's going to help out a lot.
Yeah, I've it's been a weird summer for me on the offense because I've really tried to keep my expectations tempered, right? And because it's like what is fair to expect right away, because it does feel like the pieces are in place for the offense to be really good. And look, anytime you have the quarterback and the OC already, I mean, you're really in a good place. Like you're far from ahead of the curve on that front. You had a great running back. I think we all think the wide receiver room, while there's questions, as long as it can stay healthy, is going to be at least fine, at least pretty good. Offensive line should be better, certainly, than it was a year ago, again, assuming health. Certainly a lot more depth, a lot more options, a lot more of a higher ceiling with those freshmen, Fasusi and Foje and stuff like that. But I've also tried to remind myself, and we've made the comparison to 2014, 15 a million times. When 2015, it's not like when Lincoln Riley and Baker Mayfield showed up that they just started right away 60-point games. Like it took a little time. You think of the Tennessee game that year, they had 3 points with like 8 minutes left, and they rallied to win that game. Now, is that apples to apples? No. I mean, Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer already know each other. They've already been playing with each other. A better comparison might be Dylan Gabriel and Jeff Levy just a few years ago with Brent Venables, where it did hit the ground running a little bit more. There were some kind of off games here and there, but I mean, they put 50 on Nebraska in their second game, right? I mean, it is a chance for them to hit the ground running a little bit, but I'm trying to give them a little grace, and then it might take a little time. But I do think that there's almost no way this offense isn't at least like solid. As long as they can take care of the ball, you would think they'd be able to run it a little bit. Mateer is going to make plays. You have an OC that can actually scheme some guys up, scheme some guys open a little bit that they just didn't have last year at all. I think it's fair. I think this Oklahoma offense is going to be quite good. Top, like you guys said, 25, maybe even 15-10 in scoring. The way I characterize it in the roundtable that James referenced is I think they should have a top 5, 6, 7 offense in the SEC. Where does that land nationwide? I don't know, but it should be one of the better ones in the conference is kind of how I would classify this offense. I think it's got a chance to be good. I really, really do. I've tried to keep it, it was so bad last year, but I just look at it. It's like, how is it not going to be good, or at least pretty good. You know what I mean? I don't really see the very obvious flaws in the offense. I really don't.
Yeah. When you say top 5, 6, 7 in the SEC, it's like what teams come to mind like as they're probably going to be ahead of them just because of what they return and the continuity they have. And it's like LSU, Texas, probably Alabama.
South Carolina has Sellers.
So yeah, you think of Ole Miss just because Lane Kiffin's offenses are like consistently explosive and really solid. Like I'm curious to see how Austin Simmons like takes over at quarterback there. And I know they don't necessarily have some of the same pieces that they had last year, but like those are the teams that like immediately come to mind as like, okay, like can Oklahoma kind of be in the conversation in the tier like right behind them, or like will they be in that echelon?
Right, 100%. You guys got a breakout player on offense. We didn't do this last year. I want to kind of add this. Like, obviously, this could really I would disqualify Mateer, Ott, and probably Burks for this conversation. Anyone else that we're gonna get to the end of the year and you're kind of feeling like this guy's gonna have a year right here, offensive breakout player for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on this train since the spring, but Isaiah Satania, like I think he's going to lead this team in receptions. And especially now that we see that initial depth chart come out and that he's in the slot.
Yeah.
I can see him having a Drake Stoops-esque season like from 2 years ago where he's just going to hoover up targets and kind of be that reliable option for John Mateer like at all times. People, you look back at that Drake Stoops season 2 years ago and it's like really underrated. Like
he was good.
It was absurd. Like the number of receptions he had, because it was what, like 90 or 80 or 90, something like that.
Yeah.
Or did he have 1,000 yards? I think he did. And then 9 touchdowns. And also like his catch rate was just ridiculous. He caught like 84% of his targets, which is just absurd.
962 yards, so just short.
Yeah. So just short of 1,000 yards.
For 962 and 10 touchdowns. Great year.
Yeah.
How many catches?
84.
84. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So like 84 receptions on like 80-ish% catch rate, and nearly 1,000 yards. Like, I'm not saying that Isaiah Satania is going to produce like those exact numbers, but I can see him being a guy that catches 60, 70 passes in this offense, gets close to 1,000 yards, and has 7, 8, 9 touchdowns in this offense as just like a very like shifty guy who can make things happen in space. You can kick him out wide as a deep threat and just be that guy that John Mateer trusts to go to when they need a play to happen.
Yeah, I think it's Isaiah Satania too. I mean, he's a guy that's already played in the SEC. He's already been through this gauntlet of a schedule pretty much. And I think when you take out those other guys that you mentioned, Josh, he's the next best option, for John Mateer to throw to. And I think that's going to bode well for him. Now, it's obviously a different offense than what Seth Luttrell and Jeff Lebby were running. So who knows if the targets are as high as what Drake Stoops had. But I think he's going to be a viable option. So if it's a breakout player, it's going to be him.
Yeah, and the other thing with Isaiah is like, I think we've mentioned this before, but Emmett Jones made sure to mention it when we spoke to him last week, is look at his pedigree. His dad's a track coach at Texas A&M. His mom ran in the Olympics for Jamaica, was an Olympic sprinter. Like, he's got that speed in his genes. Like, you get him in the open field and he's going to be a dangerous playmaker in this offense, I think.
Seems to be a great fit in the locker room too. Just kind of a perfect fit all around. I agree totally. I'll bounce out of receiver, although I do think Zion Kearney has a chance to be in this conversation as well. I'm still very high on him. I'm going to go with why not? We just talked about it, but Jaren Kanak, man, he's had a great camp. I initially definitely was extremely skeptical that he was going to be able to play tight end in the SEC. Like, I was like, that seems hard to believe. And even as camp went on, it was kind of like, are we like really? Like, he's so much smaller than everyone else. Like, there's no way. And I just kept being told, like, he's making more plays than anyone in the passing game. And sure enough, we get the depth chart and he's tight end 1. And, again, I'm going to invoke the name Drake Stoops again. I know it's not a 1-for-1 because he's a tight end, obviously, but I'm just envisioning, like, we're going to get to Saturdays and I think Jaren Kanak's going to make a handful of plays every single weekend. Like, I can just see it. Like, he's going to get out over the middle and make some plays. I'm kind of thinking that we're going to kind of have to pinch ourselves a few times this year. Like, that's Jaren Kanak out there catching passes, making things happen. Like I'm kind of in. It's crazy because I was definitely not in the spring or even at the start of fall camp. But as time's gone on, I think he's just kind of proven like he can get out. We all knew he had the athleticism. He was an incredible athlete in high school, and he can handle the ball. Like it's not like he's going to be a fish out of water with the football in his hands. I'm kind of in on Jaren Kanak being a legitimate option in the passing game at tight end. And I almost think, again, I'm envisioning him almost being kind of like a slot receiver, almost like more so than even necessarily a tight end. So like I don't think like red zone targets for him. I think of like over the middle, kind of little 15-yard pickups. Like I'm kind of in.
Jaren Kanak end around?
No. No, please God, no.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him run like a speed sweep. Like just that.
He was running that
Kanak actually has the speed.
He's got the speed. Like it's what he did in high school. I could see them lining him up like in like a 2 tight end set, like off the end of the line, and just like Mateer turn around, fake handoff to whatever the running back is, and just a quick reverse to
watch his running back tape in high school. It's awesome. It was a lot of fun. He's running everywhere. Good stuff. Look forward to seeing this offense finally on Saturday in an actual game, and then obviously Michigan in week 2.
How great would this story be though? Just like a guy switching over from linebacker.
I know. It already is. The fact he's starting in week 1, it's already kind of nuts. You know? Not even like wow. 2 years later, the next year, it's kind of nuts. A little bit of an indictment of the room, maybe, but also pretty cool for Jaren. Let's go over to defense. Obviously, the defense was awesome last year, completely wasted by the fact the offense was what it was. But it was the best Oklahoma defense in a long time, probably a decade or more, probably since Brent Venables was here the last time, frankly. The question now is, can it be even better? Will it take another step forward? That's you're replacing big guns. We talked about it. Stutzman, Bowman, Ethan Downs, even DeJoun Terry. But you've seemed to reload. And some of these young guys look ready to make a jump. James noted Cortland Guillory and like these year 2 guys in the secondary. Reggie Powers is going to have a role. You bring in Kendall Daniels and Marvin Jones. Will this defense be even better in 2025 than it was in 2024? That is the question for you guys to answer here. How good is this defense going to be? Will it be even better?
Easy answer, yes.
I agree.
I don't want to just like brush away the fact that you're replacing a consensus All-American linebacker in Danny Stutzman, and a guy who made a lot of great plays in the back end there in Billy Bowman. But you're talking about year 4 in Brent Venables. He is back calling plays. Like he is in his comfort zone. There's just like better depth like throughout this defense. We talked about, there's a lack of experience at cornerback right now, but I think they feel really good about the skill set and the athleticism of those guys that they have. And then, look, it's cliche, and we've pounded this again and again, but it's like it's a line of scrimmage league. And you look at that defensive line that Oklahoma has, and like we talked to Miguel Chavis, we talked to Todd Bates about it. It's like the transformation from where they were with those positions, defensive end and defensive tackle, in 2022 to 2025, it just looks so much different. Like they've transformed those groups. They're bigger, they're more talented. And I think that defensive line is going to set the tone for a lot of these games. And I fully expect this defense to take another step forward this year, just considering all those variables there.
Yeah, usually the top defenses have a great defensive line. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah. You have to be able to cause disruption. You have to have something that where the guys can just overpower and just stop what the offense is doing from the get-go. It makes everybody's job on the back end a lot easier. I mean, the defensive backs have been saying it throughout camp. They just love what this defensive line is because it makes their jobs easier. So, I mean, we're going to see that. I think this defense is going to be better because of how much this defensive line has jumped, not only in the run game, but I think the pass rush is good as well with Mason Thomas and Marvin Jones Jr., those guys, Taylor Wine on the outside as well. It's going to make things a lot better for Oklahoma this year. So I think, yes, they can be better, which is saying a lot. And it's also because the offense is better. I think they won't have to be on the field as much this time around.
For sure.
And, it'll bode well for them.
No, you saw that like against Texas last year where they were playing hair on fire the first quarter and a half, really shutting down Queen Ewers and that offense, but they just ran out of gas because the offense was giving them nothing. So that is an under-discussed point by James there, that the offense being better is going to help quite a bit. I agree. I think it's going to be better. I mean, I think it's still fair to question the cornerback room right now because it is just so much young, unproven guys, but Eli Bowen will be back. I'm going to give Gentry Williams the benefit of the doubt. I hope that he'll be able to be on the field the majority of this season. And that's a great duo at the top. And then, these other guys we talked about at length, Gillerich, Kobe Johnson, Devon Jordan, Newcomb, even some of these freshmen. Like, I think they can hold down the fort when you have that defensive line that you're going to have, when you have that linebacker room that you should have, when you have the safeties that you should have. Like, I think they can kind of mask that maybe being a little bit of a weaker spot than it was perhaps a year ago. But I think the defense is going to be better as well. Brent Venables back calling plays. You're replacing some big guns, but you've reloaded. I think you have next level stars. R. Mason Thomas, I think sky's the limit for that guy. All SEC, all that is on the table for him. I agree. I think the defense is going to be even better than it was a year ago, which, when you pair that again with what we just said about the offense, you start to kind of like, whoa, is this team going to be good? And we're going to get that in a second. But it's kind of crazy. But I do think it's going to be even better than it was a year ago. I really do.
And we give credit to Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates for what they did in transforming their rooms. Jay Valai has, like, if you look at the roster, like, the shortest guy is 5'9", Jeremiah Newcomb. Like, they have corners that are 6 feet, like, averaging 6 feet of height, which is a lot different than it was when it was the speed D iteration of Oklahoma. I mean, it's a better overall situation when you have to guard those guys that are 6'2", 6'4" on the outside in the SEC. Yeah,
and even, like, again, you mentioned the shortest guy, but like Eli Bowen, 5'9", and we saw the tenacity that he played with in the SEC as a true freshman, shutting down a guy like Ryan Williams, who is, probably top 2 receiver in the country.
Yeah.
So like, even the guys that don't have the, requisite size play bigger and, can get after it.
No doubt. Defensive breakout player for you guys this season. A lot of options here. I would eliminate probably R. Mason Thomas, Kip Lewis, and Robert Spears-Jennings, your big 3. But beyond that, I would think a lot of guys are kind of up for grabs. Where are you going here? What's a defensive breakout player this year? Again, I think there's probably a lot of options here.
I'll take the layup here, and I'll go with David Stone.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
Look, he is, like, pound for pound the most talented player that they have. Like, there's a reason he was a 5-star, top 10 player coming out of high school. And by all accounts, he has just flipped a switch, turned a corner from this past offseason. And, like, look, he's listed as a co-starter there with Dominic Williams back. And Dominic Williams has started every regular season game in his career. So I think David Stone's going to be a real difference maker. I think he is going to be able to give them some of that interior pass rush that, outside of Grayson Halton, they just didn't have as much at that position. And I think he's going to have a breakout sophomore year, and people are going to be like, okay, yeah, that's why he was a 5-star. That's why, he was the crown jewel of that 2023 class, why Oklahoma made sure that they were able to retain him after he had that little foray into the transfer portal in April. And he's going to kind of live up to, all these things that we've heard about him over the last couple months.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm going with Kendall Daniels on this one. I mean, he's the guy that I picked to be like the next best transfer after John Mateer for this team. I think he's that good on the defensive side because of everything that he knows, in terms of college football IQ on the defensive end, playing safety, playing linebacker. Now he's going to play cheetah, which is kind of a combination of both. And it's just, he said he loves being with Brent Venables. He said he wishes like he had spent longer time with Brent Venables as his head coach because it would have made him even better. And I think just seeing what he's done so far throughout camp, that he's gained so much recognition, I think it's going to be a good year for him. I mean, he's got all the physical tools to do it. I mean, he has the football IQ to do it. So I just want to see what he does at that cheetah position and what he can do, if he's the continuous starter throughout the season.
Yeah, I love Kendall Daniels. I've been on that train from the first time I saw him, really. The guy is just a weapon. And I talked about it on Friday with Colin. Like, I feel like finally, it took until year 4, really, but I feel like finally Brent Venables, they have their perfect cheetah, at least on paper. That size, speed. Again, they thought maybe Deshaun McCullough could be that. Wasn't quite the athlete. They've tried some other guys. I mean, Kendall Dolby did a nice job, but certainly not the size of a linebacker like Kendall Daniels is. When you got Wes Goodwin talking about Isaiah Simmons, I mean, I'm in, right? And so I know Oklahoma State fans, feel a certain way about Kendall Daniels, that he was, maybe kind of not mentally there last year. They were 3-9.
Empty stats.
I think a change of scenery has been great for him. I think he's kind of re-energized, coming to a place where the expectations are high. Again, last year was such a disaster in Stillwater. They were awful, right? I think him coming over here, kind of buying it with Brent Venables, a defensive-minded head coach, like I think it's kind of re-energized him, and I think we're going to get the best version of Kendall Daniels. So I really like that pick. I'll take the other guy with him in that cheetah room, Reggie Powers. I mean, we've talked about, he's been a trendy name all offseason, especially throughout camp. He's the number 2 safety in that strong safety spot behind Peyton Bowen. He's right there with Kendall Daniels in the cheetah. As Brent Venables said himself a couple weeks ago, get him on the field. He's going to play. Year 2 for him. It feels like he's ready to kind of explode, whatever role it may be. It feels like he's going to play a lot wherever it may be, and he's probably going to make the most of it. I'm excited about Mr. Reggie Powers and what he can accomplish this season. So he's a definite breakout player for me this upcoming year.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go wrong with any of those choices, and I think someone like Cortland Guillory could have been another.
There's a lot of defense you can make.
You can pick any of the defensive ends outside of Mason Thomas as potential breakout guys. But again, I think that just speaks to the way they've built this defense. Since Brent Venables got here, position by position, they've done a really solid job of just getting this defense where it needs to be.
No doubt, talent everywhere, and young talent too, which is exciting about kind of the years to come. All right, I think we've hit that time. Lock it in. Final season predictions. What is this Oklahoma team going to actually be? We just talked about it offensively and then defensively. On the whole, what are you expecting? It's been kind of hard to figure out just what is realistic. Obviously, I've been asked a million times, like, how many games Oklahoma need to win for this to be a successful season in some roundabout way. For you guys, how's this year going to go? I mean, we're here. It's the time for the first game. We have all the information we could possibly have before they play a game. So lock it in. I mean, what are we thinking? How many games do they win? What kind of a year is it? Do they get to the playoff? If you want to venture into that, I mean, what are you expecting this year? How good is this Oklahoma team going to be?
Yeah, I think they'll be better than last year, undoubtedly. I know that's not a hot take.
For everyone's sake.
I think to define a successful season for this team, when you take everything into consideration, the new parts, completely new look offense, the continuation on defense, Brent Venables back calling plays, one of the toughest schedules in the country. I think an 8-win season should be considered a success. And I think if things go well, man, this team could win 9, maybe 10 games. And that's like, I think best case scenario is like 9-3, 10-2. And if you get to that 9-win mark, I think you are in the playoff conversation. Like, again, it depends on what those 9 games are and what those 3 losses look like.
Yeah, no doubt.
But if you can get to 9 wins, you're going to be in the playoff hunt, which is where this team hopes it can be. And I will throw out I don't want to call it a hot take, but it's a little microwave take.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
John Material will get to New York.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah.
I like it.
Don't know if he'll win it, but I think that he will
got
play
the buzz
well
early.
Yeah, he will play well enough to get to New York is going to be my hottish take going into this season.
I think what Tom said is relatively true based on just what Oklahoma has been through the past couple of seasons. The 8 wins could be success, but I think just for Oklahoma, just the football program as a whole, if you're not in the playoff, which is 12 teams now, I think that is not successful for the program. I think overall, Oklahoma's a blue blood. They have to get into the playoff, which I think 9 wins get you there, and which I think is what they're going to do. I think it's going to be 9-3 for this team this year, just based on what they've done. I mean, it's just, if Oklahoma just had an average offense last year, if they were just healthy a little bit, it would have looked a lot different, for that group. So the fact that they won 6 games, I think I've said this before, with everything that happened was phenomenal for them. So I think 9 wins is what you would hope to happen after everything that you brought in, all the different guys. I think 9-3 is the prediction for me. And I think Oklahoma gets in the playoff with that record because I think everybody recognizes that Oklahoma has one of the hardest schedules in the country. I mean, that's just what it is. Yeah. So I think that's where they get to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've said it before. I think really no matter what, 7-5 is unacceptable and will likely force change. I would think 9-3 is a great year
Yeah.
Probably get you in the playoff. 8-4 is kind of the no man's land where it will take some nuance and kind of what did the 4 look like, what did the 8 look like to kind of decide like if the year was good enough to warrant like continuing moving forward and being like we still feel good about the direction. That's where I'm going to land at 8-4. I 9-3 or 10-2 to your guys' point. I think is on the table. I really do think the team is good enough to do that. What's hard to quantify, and I brought it up before. Can they win games? Can they win close games? Because they haven't under Brent Venables. They just haven't. Even 2 years ago, our first year at Stearns Illustrated, when they go 10-2, the 2 games were egregious. I mean, the 2 games that they just blew, that they shouldn't have lost, right?
And even if you win one of those, you're in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it was on the table that year. Last year, the games that they blew, Missouri comes to mind, certainly. The first year with Brent Venables, even though they weren't great that year, Texas Tech and West Virginia, like you start to the Navy game last year, the bowl game, like I joked about it before, but we're doing the instant reaction and we're saying, how did they lose that game? That's happened a lot the last 3 years. So, they're going to be in position to win a lot of games. But in the fourth quarter, can they get the drive? Can they get the stop? Because that's the thing. It's not like it was just offense last year either. The defense was awesome. They had Missouri, in that 3rd and 15, and they give it up to Pine. Like, they just haven't quite under Brent Venables been able to make the plays when they need to late to win outside of really the Texas game 2 years ago. So that's the one thing that holds me back from being all the way in because I really do think they're going to be a lot better. So I landed 8-4. I think they're going to have a good season, but can they get over that hump? Because you look at the way the schedule is and it is tough. You should win all your home games with the exception of probably LSU. And that's not to say they shouldn't win that, but that's the one that you wouldn't say is like you should win. I think every other home game they should win. Mm-hmm. You should win at Temple, barring a disaster. So that leaves you, that's 7 games. And I'm saying you should win. And so that leaves the other 5, the 3 road games, LSU at home, and then the Texas game. Can you go get 2 of those 5? Because if you do, that's 9. I can do that math. Yeah. So that's the question. Can they go get 2 of that group of 5? And not blow it somewhere else in a game that you should win. And so I think they certainly should, and they're capable of it, but I kind of need to see it after the last few years. I kind of need to see it. So that's where I'm at with Oklahoma.
It is funny. We spend all offseason saying we're not going to get lulled into this trap of like believing that this team.
I refuse. I would not let myself. That's why
we're like we're on the cusp. Like I don't know, man. I just think that this offense is going to be better than like I know there was a lot of excitement, obviously, when Ben Arbuckle showed up, and then obviously when you bring in John Mateer too. But just like I think adding Jaden Ott is a difference maker, and like I don't know, like that offensive line was so bad last year. Like if they can just be like moderately better, which I think they should be, as long as they're healthy, like that changes everything. Like I don't know, like. Again, I'm just like on the cusp of believing that this team can like break through, but I do think that 8-4 is like the baseline of what success should be for this team. But again, like you said, it's a nuanced 8-4 because if you go like 8-4, but you get boat raced by Texas again, like
can't happen.
It's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's just like you think about it, man. If they didn't blow the Navy game or the Missouri game, like it's an entirely different season last year too. Like it's crazy how close and slim the margins are. So plays a factor.
I know. Can't believe they lost to Navy. Still, it's crazy. Crazy they blew that Navy game. It was 14-0, like the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. In the past, we move forward. I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun season. I didn't mention earlier when I kind of ran through the programming. We're having player interviews tonight. Monday night, that's going to be all season, presumably. It's how it's been the last couple of years, how it is this week. Monday night player interviews, we're probably going to talk to John Mateer, I'm guessing, and some of the other big-name guys before the opener. Brent Venables' press conference on Tuesday with Ben Arbuckle. Nice little switch up there. So we get to hear from Arbuckle and Venables every Tuesday. Again, these are all things that you can watch on the YouTube channel as well. And then, like I said, we'll be back with Colin on Thursday, hit all the visitors that are going to be in town for the opener on Saturday. The 3 of us will be back with the game preview on Friday, where we'll get into the opener. Obviously, not going to be a lot of Illinois State analysis, I wouldn't think. Be more kind of season opener-y conversations, but we'll do that on Friday. So hopefully people tune in and hang out with us every Friday all season long as we set the table for that weekend's game. And then we'll hit it on Saturday. It's going to be a full day at the stadium. Looks like it might not be blazing hot, which is a shocker. When they announced 5 o'clock, in August in Norman, I was thinking it's going to be brutal. It looked like it might be kind of pleasant.
Yeah, because we're getting rain like all week before that, so it should be a little bit cooler.
Humid.
Yeah,
might be a little humid, but the temp will be low. I think the high's like 80 or something. Which, man, you take that. I'll take that and run.
Yeah,
I think that's it. Any other final season thoughts before we get into the opener? I think we got everything. I think we covered pretty much everything.
Covered a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That was the goal. That's it for now. Back on Thursday with Colin, and then we'll be back, the three of us, for the game preview on Friday. Player interviews tonight, Monday. Press conference, Venables, Arbuckle tomorrow, Tuesday. Tune into all of it on the YouTube channel. And again, a reminder, subscribe at oklahoma.247sports.com. Use that promo code SoonersPod60 for 60% off a VIP membership right now to Sooners Illustrated and the entire 24/7 Sports network. That's it for Tom Green, James T. Jackson. I'm Josh Callaway. We'll see you back here on Thursday with Colin, and then the three of us on Friday for the game preview. Right back here, as always, on Sooners Illustrated.
See you.